If you are a fan of NASCAR in any way possible and you follow it via social media, you know of the fact that there are two Bristols in the history of NASCAR. And it is the most controversial topic to discuss around Bristol weekends because there's always two sides. Neither side will give in. I'm on one of the sides that won't give in. There's a reason for that. So, back pre 2007, NASCAR had a steeply banked Bristol. Now, the confirmation of how steep the banking was has always been in question. It's been advertised as 36 degrees of banking. That's what it was always, pre 2007. It was advertised as 36-degree bank. ESPN would always refer to it as 35-degree banks. And then Ryan Newman, his team, went and did some tests on the track for setup research. And they measured the incline of the track, the banking of the track. And they found it to be 26 degrees banking. That's a full 10 degree off of the 36. So what is it? No one really knows. Bristol always said 36-degree banking. However, a team went out measured it at 26 degrees, a whole 10 degrees off. Now, whether one side is right or one side is wrong, I don't know. But it was always a little fishy, the 36-degree number. It was never really solidified as being 36 degrees of banking. 2007 comes along. They change the banking. They go to progressive banking. And it turns into basically, I think, 21 degrees at the bottom and 27 degrees at the top, something like that. So now drivers start to run the top side, and it's no longer just a parade around the bottom of the racetrack. You can run multiple grooves. You can try and make different grooves work. And then you come to the 2016 night race at Bristol, where they put PJ1 down on the bottom of the racetrack, which produced an inside groove as well as an outside groove because of the progressive banking. Ever since the 2016 night race, Bristol has not had a single bad race. 2016 night was great. 2017 spring race was great. 2017 night race was great. 2018 races were great. 2019 races were great. Yet, there is still the people that nag about wanting the old Bristol back. There's a reason for that. The reason is people like to see the carnage that came with the old Bristol. You had to bump a guy out of the way. And when bumping a guy out of the way, there was always the chance of they weren't going to be able to save the car, they were going to wreck the car. The issue about that is anytime we've seen someone hit someone out of the way at Martinsville or Bristol or Richmond, it's always been a whole controversial thing. Denny Hamlin wrecks Chase Elliott out of the lead in the 2017 Chase race at Martinsville. And the place goes crazy. Social media goes crazy. NASCAR fandom goes crazy because of what happened. And outrage about what happened. Joey Logano last year in the Martinsville Chase race gives a bump and run to Martin Truex Jr. for the win at Martinsville and advance him into the final round at Homestead. Fans are up in arms because it's Joey Logano that did it. If anyone else does the bump and run to, say, Kyle Busch, the move would be applauded. But since it's done to a fan-favorite driver, the move is seen as ridiculed. And that is why we don't need old Bristol back, because bump and runs that would happen at that racetrack would result in some crashes. People would be furious if it happened to someone like Chase Elliott or someone like Matt DiBenedetto or someone like Jimmy Johnson. But if it happened to someone like Ryan Newman, someone like Kyle Busch, someone like Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, no one would bat an eye at it. That's why new Bristol is better than old Bristol. You don't have to move a guy now to make a pass. You can run side by side with them. You can try a different lane. You can get out of their wake instead of just having to bump them up the racetrack. That's the difference. But this is where I get really mad. Old Bristol people always use the line of old Bristol always sold out and always had a line waiting. We don't have that anymore. There's a fucking reason we don't have that anymore. It's because the sport is on a decline. Old Bristol was gone after 2006. 2007 was when they introduced new Bristol. What also happened in 2007? The car of tomorrow. What happened in 2007? Ratings stopped going up. 2006 was the highest rated Daytona 500 in history. And the highest ratings came in 2006. After 2006, ratings went on a decline. 2007 was the start of the decline, which we have been on, and it has finally maybe hit rock bottom in 2019. There is a reason Bristol did not sell out past 2007, 2008. It's because the car of tomorrow drove so many people away. Countless changes to the chase that people did not like. Not to mention, people just stopped watching as a whole. They left. It's not a track problem. It's a sport problem. The sport was on a decline as a whole. Every track, attendance went down and down and down. Look at races in the early 2000s from Atlanta, from Pocono, from New Hampshire, from Martinsville, from other places like Chicagoland, Kansas. Those places would sell out. If they weren't sold out, they would be 100 seats wouldn't be sold out. Now those places can barely get half in attendance. Atlanta's attendance has sucked the past few seasons. Martinsville can't even sell the place out anymore. Pocono would sell out a lot. Now it is 1,000 seats away from selling out. Martinsville can't sell out, as I mentioned. Richmond doesn't sell out. Texas isn't even close to selling out. It used to sell out all the time. Kansas isn't close to that. Charlotte used to sell out. Not even close anymore. There's a reason that every track is not selling out. Only tracks that sell out anymore are ISM and Watkins Glen. Homestead doesn't sell out. It's the finale race. Daytona doesn't even sell out. The 500 sells out, but the night race doesn't sell out. Talladega doesn't sell out. It's not because of the tracks. It's because the sport. It's just in a bad way right now. They're on their decline. It happens in every sport. It's not a track problem. It's a sport problem. And Bristol is not immune to that sport problem. Attendance goes down because people don't have the money to go. Let's also look at 2007. So I talked about all the changes in NASCAR, the car of tomorrow, all this different stuff. The recession also happened around 2007. It's not like people didn't just, people just didn't stop coming because of the track change. I would go to Bristol night race in a heartbeat because of the racing that goes on now. But don't have the money to get there. Travel is expensive, all this different stuff. And then you may say, well, the spring race was horrible attendance. Yes, spring race was horrible attendance. Here is why. I've made this point before. If I live in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, right? Those states are all so close. From North Carolina to Bristol, Tennessee, it's a 3-hour drive. That's not long at all. Okay? So look at the tracks in and around this area. Darlington, the Southern 500. Charlotte, the Roval and the Coca-Cola 600. Martinsville now will have a night race and also has a chase race, and it's going to be the penultimate race of the season. Richmond has 2 races. One is in the chase. One is a spring race that doesn't mean much. Okay? And then you go to Bristol, Tennessee, which has a spring race which doesn't mean much, and one of the marquee events, the night race at Bristol. The night race had, I would estimate, over 100,000 people there, which in 2019 NASCAR is a whole fuck ton of people. Okay? That is a lot of people. And still, the people who want old Bristol back say, well, this new Bristol hasn't had that happen. Yes, it hasn't. You're right. Because of the sport, not because of the track. Okay? The racing is phenomenal there. Every single race at Bristol is phenomenal. I have not seen a bad Bristol race since like 2015 or 2014, whatever. Yet you still complain because they're not single file groove around the bottom of the racetrack. They can run 2, 3, 4 grooves. And you're mad about that. In what world are we mad about there being 2 grooves on a racetrack? So, the problem with Bristol is not Bristol itself. The problem with Bristol is the sport's on a decline. If the sport was ever back to the levels it was in 2004, 2005, Bristol would be a sellout crowd. Instead, we're down in ratings, we're down in attendance, and that has led to Bristol's decline. There's not much more to say about it other than that. What they need to do is go to Montana and build a half-mile bull ring, just like it is right now. Just like Bristol is right now. Go build a replica of it out in Montana because they don't have a racetrack out there. Put PJ1 on the bottom. Use the same banking they use right now. Put the same amount of seats in. Just make it just a carbon copy of what it is right now. And then take the Bristol Motor Speedway that we have right now and put it back to where it was pre-2007. So then everyone just runs the bottom. Appease those fans that want it like that at Bristol. And then give the people who actually like multi-groove Bristol, give them a track that also puts that on. Give them each 2 races a season. And we'll see. We will see. because multi-groove Bristol is the best Bristol. It produces great racing, passing, lead changes. I looked it up. Last night's night race at Bristol, it put 23 lead changes in a race, which is tied for the fourth most in the modern era at Bristol. That's a lot of races at Bristol. They've run 2 races there every year since 1972, which is when the modern era started. 23 lead changes, tied for fourth most. It's the most since the 2010 Food State 500, which had 29. Look at Bristol races from 2000 to 2006. The most lead changes in that era is 19, tied. 2 races from 2000 to 2006 had 19 lead changes. Let's go from the era of PJ1 at Bristol, which is 2016 night race, to now. 1 race had less than 19. Or excuse me, 2 races had less than 19 lead changes. 2 races had less than 19 lead changes. The 2017 spring race and the 2018 spring race. That's 2 of 7 races that had less than 19, which means 5 of 7 races had 19 or more lead changes. And then you go to 2000 to 2006 Bristol, and 2 of 12 races had 19 lead changes, which was the most. There's a difference. So, instead of going on and on about it, just think about it. Look at Jeff Gluck's poll. This one is currently on track to be 94% yes, 6% no. The one earlier in the season, the spring race, 88% yes. The night race last year, 95% yes. The spring race last year was around 86% yes. The lowest rated Bristol race in the history of that poll is 64% yes, which is when Kyle Busch swept the weekend in 2017. So that was obviously people mad that Kyle Busch won. That means, in the history of the poll, which dates back to 2016, that is the lowest rated Bristol race. That's all within the progressive banking Bristol. People love it. It's just certain people are so thick and can't get it through their skulls that what we have now is just as good as what we had 15 years ago. That's really all I have to say. Bristol has not changed for the worse. It's changed for the better. We're putting on great shows there every time we go there. People can pass in multiple grooves. It's different, but it's not bad different. It's good different. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.